Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Borough Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. I'm again joined by Tony Guest, David Campbell and Joe Scott. Welcome to the show, lads.
Evening all.
Evening.
Good to see you all, and good to see you all out there watching. After the manager's call for the season starting here, did it end for Borough on Saturday at 5 o'clock? Let us know, Borough fans, or do you still hold hopes that we can make the playoffs this season? Or do you still think it's been an improved season on what you were expecting? Let us know as always, Borough fans. We always value your thoughts and opinions. We're also going to look ahead to the Huddersfield and Reading games that are taking place this week. Another big week for the Borough. So, lads, we'll get straight into it. We'll go to the Derby game at the weekend. I'll come to you first, Bestie. There was one change to the starting lineup from the game that played against Brentford. Duncan Watmore replaced Yannick Bolasie. Transpired he had a hamstring injury. One, how disappointing was that? And two, how much of a surprise was it?
Massive surprise, especially when you had to look at the team sheet. I had to keep looking at it, and then I had to keep looking at the subs to see that Bolasie's name wasn't there. You know what I mean? Because after the performance the week before, I thought he was a definite starter, and I never heard nothing in the press or any releases to say that he was injured, and it was a bit of a shock. Then now we find out after the game he's got a bit of a hamstring tweak, but is it a bit of skullduggery going on again? I don't know. It was a massive shock to me to see that he wasn't even in the squad.
Yeah. I think Neil Warnock's turned around today in the press conference and said it may be only 3 weeks that he's possibly out. There was a few rumours going around the weekend that it could be a season-ending injury, but it looks as though it's going to be possibly 3 weeks now. But, David, it was a blow. And as we've discussed in previous weeks, again, we had the midfield three in operation for the Borough. And I think the problems are there for everybody to see. Plenty of possession, little end product. What's your take on this situation?
They're just very rigid, and I can understand it when you're playing away from home against teams who are going to give you a real good goal like Norwich and Bournemouth, and you've got to stay rigid. But he keeps talking about 16 playoffs, 16 finals, and it's way too negative for me. How can you lose a midfield battle of 3 central defensive midfielders against 2? You know, we're just losing that battle constantly, and his substitutions counteracting what he's saying. He keeps talking about we need to go for it, but his substitutions are like for like, and he's not bringing these three central midfielders off. He seems to just want to stick with that, and I don't see how he sees that formation of winning those games, because as soon as we go 1-0 down with those 3 central midfielders, for me the game's lost. You've got to take one of them off and go more offensive, and he just won't. He makes substitutions all around the pitch like for like, but he just won't take one of them out. And he says it's because he wants us to remain strong. But we haven't been strong in that midfield battle for weeks, absolute weeks, all season, in fact. All season.
Yeah, those strong words, mate, but I don't think there'll be many people that disagree with it at the minute. I mean, Joe, do you think other sides have worked out how to play against us? Because it seems there has been, certainly in the last month, a shift in how we've performed and how other teams performed against us. Do you think they've worked out what threats we've had and they've worked out how to nullify them?
I think working with the same formation that Warnock planned ever since he came to the club, I think some clubs are now starting to figure that out, and I think obviously Wayne Rooney figured that out ever since he took over Derby, you know, going into the game this past weekend just gone. And I think it's going to be a massive scare, you know. Most clubs are going to figure out the system we play anyway, so it's just a matter of Warnock having to change up options for these next few games.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened with our midfield there, Dave, Joe, James, because I'd say for the majority of our first 20 odd games, when we were losing possession in the opposition half, we were hunting the ball down. We were winning the ball back in some, really good positions. Now that seems to have gone away, and whether they're all knackered, you know what I mean? I don't know. That just seems to have disappeared, and it's costing us dear, because when you've got McNair bombing on the way he does, And you see the amount of goals that we've conceded by being exposed at the back, which, you know, you didn't mind earlier on in the season when we were getting decent results. But some of the commitment and the desire's gone out of that midfield three for getting the ball back, whether it's because Tav's energy's not there anymore. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it where it's gone.
I think it's the way we're playing, Guesty. I mean, the hoofball, which we all know Pulis play, is turning into the Warnock. And as soon as that ball's not on the ground, you're always going to lose that midfield battle. And I think in the first 20-odd games, it was unknown, and we kept the ball down and we kept possession. We're not keeping possession every time we're getting the opportunity. Now it's just going long.
Yeah, we've stopped using McNair. McNair was our biggest threat then. And
yeah,
like you say, it stopped happening. It's a 50-50 ball put up in the air, and especially with what we've got up front, nothing sticks. At the moment, it's just coming straight back at us now. So he's got a few problems to sort out, Warnock, and we touched on it last week. Through social media, there's a few more getting twitchy trigger fingers, you know what I mean? Not happy with the way things are going at the moment. And the way football is, it's the tide soon turns, James.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned there about up front, and again, the same old names crop up. Gareth Cole's mentioned there that we look tired. Is it too many games? Well, I guess that's the same situation for everybody in the division. And Steve Gorby sitting there, drop a Sombalonga for the rest of the season, give a young lad a chance who wants to play football. But lads, is it as simple as that, Tony? Because at the end of the day, I don't care really who you put up front at the minute. They're going to be feeding off scraps, whether it's a Sombalonga, Akpom, whoever. The problem's the midfield, isn't it? And the creativity there.
Yeah, we could have anyone up front at the moment. You could stick Ronaldo up front for us, and he'd struggle for chances. Who was it? We got beat last week 4-1 off Brentford. We did create a lot of chances, goals, clear chances. And yeah, you can criticise the forwards plus Saville for missing them, but when you're in games like that and there's nothing getting created, you know, it doesn't matter who's up front. You know what I mean, James? So, yeah, drop Masson-Blanc at the end of the season, but like you say, it doesn't really matter because what's happened with Watmore? Watmore seems to have got his contract. You know what I mean? He's got his Player of the Month award. Came in, he was lively, he was on the move, and, you know, everything's dried up for him at the moment, and he doesn't look, apart from one run, I think it was against Brentford, he looked a shadow of the player who's won himself a contract.
Yeah. Another thing, like, I think about the fans as well, and obviously we're all included in this, but with that three central midfielders, when we are getting results that are performances, it's performances where we're not really expecting anything. So we think of big things. So like Forest away, we were like, oh, we'll take a draw. So when we took the 3 points, we were like, that's brilliant. But when the onus is on us to attack, it shows our very limitations, doesn't it, with that three central midfield? Because as fans, we all think, like, that's an easy 3 points. And we all know there's no easy 3 points. But with those three central midfielders, you're not going to boss a game offensively.
Yeah. I mean, David was one of the few bright spots from the game. Obviously, Naskins Cabano got his first goal for the club. And later on, Mendes Lang came on. What did you make of their contributions?
Cabano looked bright. I just wish we got the ball to him a little bit more. Again, we bypassed him, didn't we? And Watmore's performance, I guess he touched upon, he's been poor since he got the new contract, and they're just feeding off scraps. They just need help further up the field. But he took his goal well. He's getting in the positions. He looked bright. He got a few crosses in. But it doesn't matter as many crosses you get in. If you don't get those men in those boxes, in the box, you ain't going to score. And as much as I slate Assomblonga, I'm not his biggest fan. He's the only target we've got in those crosses. And if it's over his head, he gets a lot of unnecessary stick, in my opinion, for that reason. But we're just not good enough going offensively, and he needs to solve that pretty quick if we need to win games.
That comment there by Peter Grasson, saying that he's sick of Britt getting a lot of stick. Yeah, I've been Britt's biggest fan. I've defended him since the day he come. I do see a lot of the hard work Britt does. People think he's lazy, but he does put a shift in, and he gets dragged all over. He gets pushed about. But Dave, at the moment, mate, he's not doing himself any favours, because every Borough fan now is watching the same. We're all watching him on the TV, and he's doing himself no favours. He is looking lazy. He definitely is. His first touch is, for a striker, is unbelievably poor at the moment, and he's offering nothing different. He's just playing in between the two goalposts, and he's just not. He's not trying to bring himself into the game.
Fair point.
I think the thing for me, in a way, lads, is he showed the benchmark with his performance at Forest that night. And he put in a really good performance. And yes, we're not going to get that every week off him. I know that. But that's the level he can play at. And all too often, and I don't think it's the case that he doesn't care or he's not bothered, but it comes across as though he's not really interested. And we don't see those performances often enough, like we saw at Forest, which is, I think, really, that should be a given for a professional player, to be putting in those sort of levels of effort each week. But
he's had spells like this every season he's been with us, James, where he does walk about as if he does look not bothered, where he looks not bothered, where laughing when he's missed chances and laughing when he's missed penalties and things like that. And he seems to have a spell like this every season, where his attitude just seems all wrong.
Yeah. But who's to blame here, though? Because why give him the captaincy? You've got Dale Fry, you've got McKay, you've got Howson, who are leaders, are vocal, and then you've got Assemblonga, who's everything what a captain shouldn't be, and yet you're trying to get a tune out of him. I could understand the thinking and someone saying it might give him a kick, but it hasn't from the off, has it? So why just not take it away from him straight away and say, why you're not leading by example, so you're getting punished? So
reverse psychology will taking the captaincy off him, make him prove a point. You know what I mean?
It could though, couldn't it? It could.
All of a sudden, it's just made them more lazier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair point. Someone we haven't mentioned tonight, Marvin Johnson. I know you've got a lot of time for him, David, and Lee Pelling's saying that he's been unfortunate to lose his place. Probably the only man who can beat the first one with his crosses, and he's been dropped to the bench.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, David?
Yeah, we did. We miss his directness, don't we? It's funny because the fans were slating him 2 seasons ago, saying he shouldn't get in, but he gets those crosses in, whether they're over hit or anything, and at least he's putting an effort in offensively. And you can get those crosses in. Half the time, I thought he got unnecessary stick because there were good balls and there just wasn't people in the box. I've got a feeling you'll see Johnson start tomorrow. I really do.
He was one of our main threats, Johnson.
Yeah.
And Joe, before we move on from the Derby game, obviously before the game, Neil Warnock mentioned 18 cup finals. This is the start of our season. It appeared to really just fall on deaf ears, that didn't it, with the players at the weekend?
Yeah, I can tell a couple of players didn't particularly perform well. One at the top of my head was Dyke Steele. I think he was getting bossed around pretty much by both Kazim Richards and Gregory all game, and it was just one of those where I don't know what I think with Dyke still playing at centre back nowadays. Now more seeing him as more of a right back. But going back to the captain situation, I think I would have put Johnny Howson as captain at the start of the season because, like I said, with the summer longer, he's just getting more and more lazier with the being appointed with the captain's armband anyway. So we've got to look at the next games now. Like obviously starting tomorrow is must wins, especially against. Coming up on tomorrow against a team that I've not won in the last 7 or 8 games.
Yeah. Tony, often the case after we lose a game, social media goes into meltdown. There's criticism flying all over the place, and the manager is, like you said earlier on, he's starting to cop a fair bit of criticism as well. Is that fair in your opinion, Tony?
No, just like you say, we're 8th and we've got 40 points on the board at the moment, so it's the modern way, isn't it? Now, you know what I mean. Well, we've got 1 point out the last 15, and a lot of these fans get trigger happy, and they want to see results, and they want to see us. We've built ourselves up to think that we are good enough to reach the top 6. The manager's never come out and said that. The manager's always said, let's get enough points on the board to make sure we're not going to get relegated. The manager's never promised us anything.
Yeah.
He's brought signings in, but two of them signings, two of the players' careers were going nowhere. Watmore and Mendes Lang. He's brought Balassi in, most probably as a favour to the kids, for him to try and get some football to get him over to Turkey next season. So the signings that he's brought in, and they're not marquee signings, they're not the signings that we've been used to, but like you say, that we were used to years ago, where I'd say the majority of the fans from 1995 who've been spoiled rotten are the majority of the fans who start screaming they want the manager out straight away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Warnock's doing a decent job. Like you say, people call him a dinosaur. But if he keeps us in this division, and if we're anywhere in and around the playoffs, like you said, 18 cup finals, well, I hope we're playing in a group because we've just been knocked out in the first round. But I just hope people calm down. A result tomorrow will calm a lot of them down. You know what I mean? But yeah, social media, it goes into meltdown, especially with Borough managers.
On the situation of signs, Gessie, do you not think we might have brought too many in January and upset the balance and players that were unfit?
That was, I think we discussed this before, the likes of Balassi, Mendes Lang, Cabano. None of them have played. Cabano's only played about what? I think I read he played something like 16, 17 games in 4 years. So it's a tester, isn't it? You know what I mean? I don't think it'll take long to get up to speed, but it's match fitness they want, really, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
plus the fact as well, most of them, apart from Fisher, are on deals until the end of the season. So I think they're just playing like they've got now to play for, I think.
David Jackson's been in touch there and said Warnock's making a poor team play above themselves. And you think some of the criticism now is almost, in a way, he's become a victim of his success in the first half of the season, and that we overachieved and we did better than what we thought we were going to do, and he's raised hopes and expectations amongst Borough fans.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's because now we're expecting to win games and the onus is on to attack. And I think Warnock's team struggle with that. So because the bar was set on high and just getting results, that's fine. But then when you take it to the next level where you have to get the results to push on, yeah. I know he has had the promotion, but with this group of players, I think he's going to struggle with that.
Yeah. Michael Pellin's got in touch. Thanks for watching, Michael. He said we are a mid-table team and Neil Warnock's done a great job in making us think higher. I mean, Joe, we've took 1 point now from the last 5 games, Tony said. Is there any mitigating circumstances for that, or do you think actually as much as we deserve?
Probably as much as we deserve, because it's probably, we look into the January, February time of the season as like our blip sort of period. And I think that's just a method that hasn't changed for us over the years. And plus, more concerned have to look at the fact there are teams in and around below the top 6 now that are starting to pick up games like I was saying, Cardiff have leapfrogged above us on goal difference now, and they're improving massively under Mick McCarthy. So we need to watch out for them teams, and especially the likes of Blackburn and Stoke as well. So we need to recover from this split quickly. Obviously starting tomorrow. Yeah,
and Tony, there was a few things again, like you say, with social media and other fan forums on Saturday night. And there were some people suggesting that maybe Steve Gibson's quite happy for the club to remain in the Championship as opposed to trying to fund a survival effort in the top flight. And is there any mileage in that for you? Do you think there is any truth in that?
You know what? You could sit... When Gibson come in, obviously, I was saying when he came in, he was a lot younger. He was more ambitious. To take us from Ayresome Park to the Riverside, then obviously bring one of the biggest names in football in as manager, Brian Robson. You can just go on and on what Gibson's done now, first £1 million footballer, Neil Cox. And it was just signing after signing after signing. But then you can look back at his experience where he's had his fingers burnt. He's had an old wise head come in a couple of years ago, Pulis, and put him right on a few things. And they used to say it years ago about Charlie Amer that he didn't want to be in the first division. And there could be some truth in it, James. You know what I mean? He set his stall out to, we've been a championship club for God knows how many years apart from one season. Yeah, it could be, it could be as far as he wants us to go, James.
Yeah. David, one for you, where Ruth Dixon's been in touch with and said, it's not a popular opinion, but I think getting rid of Wing and Roberts was a poor choice. They offered us creativity in the middle and weren't given a chance because they're not workhouse players. Do you subscribe to that thought?
Not for me. Lewis Wing's been here long enough, and he flatters to deceive. He doesn't offer anything, and it's like playing with a luxury player. But I can see what she means regarding Ruth saying about the workhorse, because he does like that, and the fact that Mendes Lang is a workhorse winger, and I think that's the type of players he likes. He doesn't like a luxury player. So I can understand that, saying about him wanting a rigid players. But
them two hardly played anyway.
No, but that's what I was about to say. That contradicts what he's saying, because he's saying we need to go out and attack teams. So if you want working players, then you need players who offer something a little bit different. And I think personally, that's where fans' frustrations, certainly my frustrations, coming from when I hear him say he wants to go win games, and then I've seen him with his team selection and it's too negative. You're making a rod for your own back, and I think you just make yourself an easy target. It's easy to say because Lewis Wing's played 2 games at Rotherham, or we should have kept him. He's been named 2.5 seasons and he's done nothing. So I can understand the decision to move him on.
Yeah.
Marvin Johnson's our main loss. Marvin Johnson not playing every. He's our main loss, James.
And Dale Fry. I mean, Dale Fry, we just.
Well, I mean, going forward, you know what I mean.
Definitely.
He's a threat. He's a threat, and he gets some bad press as well, Marvin Johnson. But he's been our main threat last season and this season.
Last season against Hull away, though, I remember going on some of the forums and the pelters he was getting for some of his crosses, and it's like he's the only attacking outlet we had at that time.
Yeah.
Yet we were giving him pelters.
Yeah. Joe, bring you in on this one. Ian Robinson's been in touch. Every team we play in the Championship have better strikers than us. Even the Rotherham forwards tortured us. That's the difference. Our strikers are just not good enough. And it's interesting that 2 weeks in a row now, after the game, Neil Warnock came out and said, if we'd have had the opposite team strikers, we'd have got something from that game. Do you think it is a case of maybe it's a totally new strike force we need as well next season?
There could be a possibility next season, maybe, but in terms of what we got now, it's just a matter of case of, if it changes the system, I think, because I think we're only just playing the one up top at the moment, whether it's a Son Malonga, Akpom, and obviously we've got Fletcher back on the bench now, and I don't know. I think it's one of the key factors that we might have to look in the summer. So I think at the moment, obviously with the Son Malonga running this contract out by the looks of things, and Fletcher's probably agreed to take a pay cut, I think, for next season. I think under the striker in the club could probably do us the world of good for next season.
Yeah. And David, we've lost to Birmingham, Blackburn, Rotherham, now Derby in recent weeks. It doesn't bode well for the remainder of the season. Or do you think that's like an unfair thing, just saying that we're going through a blip? Or are you worried that the season could actually just like ebb away and just drift away now?
It's not been a good blip, has it? We're all disappointed because of the games that we thought we should have won, or at least got something from the game. But I think let's not get too ahead of ourselves. You'd have asked us at the start of the season, would we took this? Then certainly the answer is yeah. But I touched upon it last week. For me, the biggest game's Reading. They've lost 2 on a bounce now. I've looked at their running. They've got a very hard running. If we can put a run of form together, there's nothing to say we can't reach those playoffs. But like Gessie, Joe, and yourself have touched on, you just can't see that win coming with the way we're playing at the moment. And I think it's the performances rather than the results, which is the most concerning at the moment.
Yeah. and Tony, we'll move on to the games in a moment against Huddersfield and Reading this week. But say we don't make the playoffs, or say we make the playoffs and don't go up, how difficult is it then to rebuild? Because no doubt people have said that are watching the show and we've discussed there's players out of contract that are going to move on. We've got players that are only here on loan till the end of the season. We're going to have to start again next season. How difficult is it to keep doing that, especially if we don't know the manager's still going to be here?
Like you see teams like Brentford, you know, they sell the best players, but they always manage to bring other players in, and they seem to bring pros in every season. Where I'd say since Karanka come in, it's gone back over since Karanka's contract running out, and it's like you said, if Warnock stabilises this season, a massive rebuild to do next games, and this is where Gibson's really got to show his ambition, and he tried it with Monk, with a Sommer, Cyrus Christie, and within 6 months he'd sacked his manager who we'd allowed to spend all this money. And these players have all been at our club now for a long time on long contracts. And I think the Somberlonger, Fletcher, I think they'll be the last two. Howson's obviously extended his contract. So there's a lot of rebuilding to be done, James. We've got a Fisher, the new fullback, Bowler, Mike Steele. They've also got time to run on their contracts. Don't know what Dale's got, but there's a lot of gaps to be filled in, especially if Britt and Fletcher go.
Are you happy with Guessy, sorry, are you happy with Warnock to do that next season? Would you like him to do the rebuild?
There's a lot of good managers out of work at the moment, but are the good managers, you know what I mean, because they're out of work? I think we should hold on to him for as long as possible, as long as he wants to stay at the club, keep him here, and you know, whether his mate stays when Warnock goes, I don't know, because we do need stability. We've chopped and changed managers quite a lot since Karanka, and we do need a bit of stability, and sometimes it pays off, you know what I mean? So we just have to wait and see. Dave, it's every season now. We're losing a lot of players, and the players that we bring in aren't up to the standard of the players that we're losing. For me,
yeah,
we had a massive lucky escape last season, you know. So the Gibbo, like you say, Gibbo. We've spoke on Gibbo earlier on about does he want us to stay in the Championship? He definitely doesn't want us to go into that third division, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me, lads, I think it's difficult even now to remain in the Championship. I know people always said about the gap between the Premier League and the Championship. I think the Championship is becoming a very competitive league. You only have to look at the teams that are at the bottom of the table this year. Some big clubs down there. I think if you stand still, you run the risk of heading for the drop in the Championship now, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Right, lads, we'll go on to the Huddersfield game tomorrow night. Huge game tomorrow night. I'll come to you first, Joe. Irrespective of the league position, pushing to playoffs, whatever it is, it's a big game for two clubs tomorrow night for ourselves and Huddersfield. How important is it that we get our first home win of 2021?
It's extremely crucial. Obviously, Huddersfield, like I said, they've not won in the last 8 in League and Cup. I mean, ideally on paper, but it's like someone's got to give. Obviously, we have to break our duck at home to get into the top 6. And Huddersfield are looking to get away from get away from the bottom 3. And I think it's got the makings of a tough game on paper. Obviously, Huddersfield have been scoring a couple of goals, but like I said, they've not won in the last 7 or 8 games. So ideally, you look on paper, this could be a scalp for Huddersfield, but I think it's one of them games that we do have to win, considering we got 3 tough games after that. Obviously, Reading away, and then the 2 home games against Bristol City and Cardiff. So you have to look at tomorrow's game as a must-win for us. Yeah.
David, you can't knock Borough fans for their optimism. We've got Alex Hughes, Chris Sykes, Paul Scobie, all predicting a home win tomorrow night. It obviously appears we know Yannick Bolasie. We don't think Tavernier will be back or Dale Fry. So what can Neil Warnock do to turn things round tomorrow night? And it was a pretty insipid performance on Saturday. How can he change things tomorrow night to see an improvement?
Well, it can't get any worse than Saturday, can it? So whatever happens, it can't be any worse. He's got to change that formation. He's got to go for the 3 offensive players just behind the lone striker and actually go for it. You know, there's the onus is on us to attack finally at home. And I think that's the only way you're going to get results when you're in a tricky situation like we're in. It's changing personnel and changing formation. I just hope personally he goes with Akpom. I think it's been a bit of a waste of a signing. You know, he obviously didn't want him. Kefa Mua was obviously his first choice, but give him a run of games and just see what he can do. Bring someone with a point to prove. Because sticking with Britt, I think he's the biggest downfall for us at this moment in time.
Also, as well, going into this game, I think it's not only us that have a couple of problems with injuries. I think Huddersfield have a couple of players out injured as well. I know Harry Toffolo suspended, and you got the likes of Christopher Schindler, Rolando Aarons, Carol Lighting. They're both out injured, so it's fair to say I think Huddersfield have most of their key players out. So
more of a reason to attack, Joe.
For us. What's that, mate?
Yeah, more of a reason to attack them then.
Yeah, and I think
more reason to go in attack, especially the likes of you got the likes of Christopher Schindler out, who's absolutely a rock at the back for them.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Tony as well. Like we said, we're struggling at the moment, but as Joe's alluded to there, Huddersfield haven't won a game in the last 6 league matches. They're slowly getting dragged towards a relegation battle. They were 2-0 up at home to Wycombe at the weekend and ended up losing 3-2 at home, so the confidence won't be sky-high there either. So as David said, really, we've got to be getting after them tomorrow night, haven't we? Are you there with us, Tony?
Yeah, you were just breaking up quite a lot there. Like you say, they capitulated against Wycombe on Saturday. It's just again, if we want to stay in touch with the playoffs, if Warnock does have any desires for us to go up, he does have to change things around a bit. And you know, Saturday is gone now, and it's such a short space in between games. So hopefully, he can get them up. But we started off this season at home. We were unbeaten. We were unplayable at home. Norwich, Norwich got the lucky win against us. The two-touch penalty off Tav. You know what I mean? And I thought we always looked solid at home, and it's just gone to pot for the last few home games. So massive game tomorrow, Tuesday night under the lights. Obviously, we're not there, and hopefully he can change things around. See if we can get Johnson back in the team. It's all right having the ammunition to, supply. We said it last week, supplying our strikers. We've got to get people in the box, James. We've got to get people in the box. Look at the back. So for me, he's got to bring Grant Hall back in tomorrow. And, if Dykesdale's playing, he's got to play Hall and Dykesdale as centre halves for me. If he's going to play Tav at the back, stick McNair in the middle of him. But we do have to shore things up at the back a bit as well, because we are conceding some stupid goals.
Yeah.
and protect our goalkeeper, because he is bobbins with shots from outside the box, and it's costing us every week.
Yeah, I've just seen what Ian said regarding the wing back formation, and it corresponded to what Gessie just said about not conceding goals at home.
Yeah,
we look far less at conceding goals when we were playing wing backs at home, didn't we, against Norwich?
Yeah, and Ian's also got a touch there about the goalkeeper. Yeah. Would you be tempted to change the goalkeeper tomorrow, Tony?
No, you know, we're having a chop changing with the back four with Dale being injured. So, yeah, none of us confident, but to change the goalkeeper now, I'd be a mistake.
Right. Yeah. Okay, lads, prediction time for tomorrow night. Come to you first, David, then we'll go to you, Joe, and then Gestie.
It's not going to be a fluid game. I think we'll nick it, but I think it'll only be one goal in it for me.
Yeah. Go on, Joe.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 Borough on this one.
2-0. Tony?
We've got to start and open up. We do have to start and go at teams when we're at home, James. So, you see all these scores predictions come, and I just get dragged along. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Borough win tomorrow.
James, you were talking about the expectation going through the roof, weren't you? No, we're doing comments like this.
We've got like 1 point from the last 5 games, and people still expect us to win. I love our optimism. I love it.
Still putting 3 or 4-0.
I agree with that. I think it's absolutely. We've got to Reading. Tony, at the weekend we've got Reading at the Majeski. They're 5th currently, and fair play to the Royals. They've been at the top end of the table all season. Has their progress surprised you?
I'm surprised they're still up there, James, because when they come to Riverside, they didn't look like a top 6 team. But Joe will tell us more. The kid they got from Sheffield Wednesday, Joe, and the other kid, I can't think of his name. They've got some really good footballers in their team, James. You know what I mean? And there was a comment earlier on, why is everyone striker better than ours? And you look at the players that Reading have, and they've just come from nowhere. And that, like you say, that Joe tortured us when he played for Sheffield Wednesday. But they look different players. But Reading for me is a happy hunting ground for us. So
I'll say that.
I think we could go there, and obviously we haven't got the Borough fans in the crowd, but I think we can go to Reading and get something, because was it them who got beat off Millwall the weekend?
Yeah.
So
2-1.
Yeah, I can see us going there getting something, James.
We raise our game for occasions like this as well, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's the type of game I can understand why we play 3 central midfielders.
Yeah. And obviously, David, results in midweek will decide if we still hold an interest probably in the playoff places. However, 15 home games this season, Reading, they haven't had a draw there yet. They've won 9, lost 6. So does it feel like it's going to be an all-or-nothing game on Saturday?
I think it is more for us than it is for them. I think the pressure's more on us. That they'll just not want to lose the game, and they won't want to lose the games against the teams that are around them. So I think the onus is on us to really go get something. They would happily take the draw. A draw does nothing for us. We need to close that gap, don't we? Whether that's tomorrow night or Saturday against them. Because for me, they're the team to catch.
Joe, you can have first goal on the prediction of the Saturday at Reading. What do you reckon it'll be?
I mean, it'll be a tough game, I think, because, their manager, Paunovic, has done wonders for them this season, keeping them where they are at the moment. So we're going to go in there, and like Gessie said, the Majeski has been a good hunting ground for us for the last couple of years. So I'm probably going to end up going for a 2-1 Borough win, because it'll be a tight game, no doubt.
Tony?
I'll go 2-1 Borough win. Absolutely. Your head just overrules everything, doesn't it? Yeah, I can see us go. As long as we can protect our goalie against what they've got up front, I think we'll come away with something, and I'd like to think we'll come away with a 2-1 win.
Just scrap the rest of this show we've done earlier on,
We're finishing on an upbeat note, David. That's what we're doing.
Brit's going to get loads. Brit's going to bag a couple of braces over the weekend.
In fairness, David, the Majeski was the scene of one of our most important and better away days last year when we won 2-1 there towards the end of the season for a crucial away win. Can we repeat it again on Saturday?
Robert stole the show there as well, Gestie, last season, didn't he?
Yeah, it's about the only thing he did steal, mate.
I'd be a walking
credit where it's due. We played well that night.
Yeah.
I'd be a walking contradiction because I'd harper on how big the game is against Reading. I do think the occasion will rise. Warnock is good in these types of situations, so I think we will get a result there. It is a happy hunting ground, and I do think he will get it. It's a typical Warnock game.
We've seen what Warnock can do. Yeah, we've seen what he can do. We've seen what he's brought out of our players. You know what I mean? At the start of the season, we didn't want Dyke, Steele, or Bowler anywhere near our squad. You know what I mean? And now the two mainstays. So he's done it with us. He kept us up last season. He's got us in a position. We've been on a bad run. So we just have to trust him to get us out of it. And I truly believe he will.
Yeah. It won't be pretty on Saturday against Reading. Steve Gorby, is he on the drink again?
I tell you what, we're a fan. It was the end of the world on Saturday. Tonight they're all up and at it, ready for the fight tomorrow and Saturday, aren't they? So fingers crossed. I think it's the job of a football fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll be honest. I think if we get 4 points from these two games, I think personally we'll have done quite well. But we'll wait and see. All will be revealed next Monday night, lads.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Is it cancelled if we end up with no points?
This laptop's going in the bin. Unfortunately, everyone, we've reached the end of tonight's show. Many thanks to Guesty, David and Joe for joining me again. And as always, many thanks to you out there for watching, contributing to the show. Apologies for a few technical issues we've had tonight. Hopefully we'll get that ironed out for next week. As we say, got 2 big games this week, so there's going to be loads of info on our Facebook pages. So keep up to date with all that. Keep your eye on all things going on with the Borough. Until next Monday, from us all here at Borough Fan TV, good night and up the Borough.
Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.